Welcome viewers. Today we have with us Professor Gautam Gawali, Director, and Professor AIBAS Amity, Professor Anand Kumarji, President IAHP, Dr. Vismita Paliwal from Amity, Jaipur. I'm inviting Professor Anand sir to introduce guest of today and invite him for the presentation. Anand sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Rakesh Jain ji, Professor Gautam Gawali ji, and Dr. Vismita Paliwal, and welcome all our viewers. We are today having with us Professor Gautam Gawali ji. He is a very renowned personality, and he is Professor and Director of Amity Institute of Behavior and Allied Sciences, Amity University, Mumbai. Professor Gawali was former Head Department of Applied Psychology and Counseling Center, University of Mumbai, and he was former Director of Western Region of Indian Council of Social Science Research. He has presented his paper and chaired a session in British Psychological Society Silver Jubilee Conference in London in 2001. And also, he has presented and chaired a session in NCDA Centenary Celebration Conference at Boston in 2003. And he delivered a talk in University College of London in 2015. He has a lot of research papers published in reputed journals, many project works, and he is having many official positions, administrative positions in University of Mumbai and other organizations. And today he is going to speak on topic Vitalizing Career Counselling in Turbulent Times of Foster Mental Health. So I request Dr. Gautam Gawali ji to just present his speech.
Good evening to all of you. It's a great pleasure for me to be here on this platform today as a speaker. I must thank Dr. Anand Kumarji for inviting me on this particular platform. He, being a president of Indian Academy of Health Psychology, he has been organizing series of lecture on different topic of health psychology. Dr. Rakesh Ji, he has been coordinating since last few days with me for this particular program. Dr. Vismita, my colleague from Jaipur campus of Amity University. I have been getting messages from many of our very senior colleagues that they will be joining this meeting. Some of them have already joined the meeting. So according to Dr. Anand Kumarji, he wanted me to speak for 30-35 minutes on this particular topic and followed by question answers, and which I think Dr. Vismita ji will be coordinating this question answer. With this particular topic, as we all know, the kind of difficulties which we are going through, this is something very unusual, unpredictable. And I thought of suggesting this topic to Dr. Anand Kumarji, and he accepted this with little modification as to fit into the Academy of Health Psychology. So this particular topic we have selected for today's discussion, keeping in mind the existing pandemic which we have, the whole world is facing. The day on which this pandemic was declared by WHO, throughout the world, all mental health service centers have become very active, along with medical professionals. Psychology profession has attracted a lot of attention from general masses. One country like India, when our government also declared and accepted WHO's declaration as pandemic, and kind of steps taken by our state government as well as central government to challenge this particular pandemic by various decisions which at government level have been taken. On this particular time of crisis, people started giving different kind of responses in general, particularly in Indian context. When they were communicated officially that this pandemic has entered, or this particular virus has entered in our country, people started giving different responses. In psychological language, we can say that people started giving responses as many of them, they reacted to this pandemic as challenge. Now, those who responded emotionally as challenge to this particular pandemic, that indicates, because I know this particular August gathering, I think many of our very senior researcher and senior psychologists are attending this particular webinar. Now, I don't have to explain that what does it indicate when somebody take it as a challenge. So this is one response given by some people. Then there are other responses, like some people responded to it as a loss, because loss of many things, loss of interaction, loss of many of them have economic losses. Many of them could not interact with other people. Okay, some people have lost their job. Okay, so these are some responses people have started giving. Some people also have responded like it's again gain. Now, gain in the sense that, okay, this is the time where our ability, our capacities at task as risk, and this is the time where one can prepare to face such type of epidemic, such type of pandemic, such type of crisis situation. So one can develop their capacity, ability to deal with such kind of pandemic or such kind of crisis situation. Some people also started giving response as threat to their life. They think that this is threat, their life is threatened by this pandemic. Now, this kind of response given by the people, okay. So there's a like, see, we cannot say that this particular which particular age group or which particular population have started giving such type of responses. But these are some of the responses people have started giving initially. Now, these responses were based on the kind of information which they got. Some of the informations were very threatening. So there's a possibility that some people, they got influenced by this threatening informations, and they started responding as it's a threat to their life. Some responses were very encouraging, and that's why some people, they took it as a challenge. Let us see that life is full of challenge. So this is one more challenge. So let us face this. Some people started considering as a loss. Okay, and the kind of information which were provided, or kind of information which they received. So sources of information were not very authentic. Some reason, for example, I'm not talking about WHO's information source was authentic. government source was authentic. But in addition to this, there were many social media, social groups. They started their own interpretation, and that also has created some difficulties among the masses. So difficulties like, it's a loss, it's a threat, and that kind of fear psychosis created by some information. The information were interpreted as a threat to their life, and many people, they started experiencing a lot of hopelessness, helplessness, anxiety, stress, tension. Okay, and then government also invited psychological services, invited psychological or mental health service centers to be active to deal with this kind of situation. So in this particular situation, people in general, when those who started interacting with psychologists, so psychologists, they tried their level best to provide them psychological services and maintain their well-being, mental health. The another very important things which this particular crisis situation, very unpredictable situation, has created uncertainty in our life, because we as a country, we always say that this country is a country of youth. Compared to the whole world, our country is youngest. And due to this pandemic situation, our most affected population is our youth, and particularly those who are likely to enter in the world of work, right? And that's the reason why Dr. Anand Kumarji, he expressed his desire that we must talk on career counseling and its relevance in today's time of crisis. As we all know, this work or employment is considered as one of the most important aspect of our life. One of the very famous ancient physician, which I really appreciate the kind of statement which he made in I think 172 AD. So he's an ancient physician, and he said that employment is nature's best physician, and is essential to human happiness. Now, this statement, if you look at this, how this employment has been pursued as important part of our life. Like many, those who are the researcher working in the field of career guidance and counseling, like if I quote few, Donald Super was also president of American Psychological Association. Then there are some researchers like her and Kramer, Kreitz, and many others. Though somewhere in their writing, they derived this idea, they borrowed this idea that employment or work, how important it is to maintain not only physical health of an individual, but it also maintain mental health of an individual. Like we all have experienced while interacting with our young students, our youths. If anything happens wrong to their work-related life, there's a possibility that it result into their lot of psychological problems, stress, anxiety, hopelessness, helplessness. These are some of the problems, consequences if something happens to their employment. So if employment is considered as nature's best physician, so it is our responsibility to see to that the employment related information, employment related counseling, career guidance and counseling, what you call, that has to be very positively activated in such type of crisis. Now, see the traditional way of counseling, like where we have many theories available with us, like we have Super's theory, Holland's theory, then all other psychological theories also can be considered as theories of vocational development or career development. Now, the traditional way of looking at career guidance and counseling is like we have person fit theory, or what you call trait factor theory, where we analyze individual factor by using various psychological tests, psychological assessment, and we also study the other aspect of job. So we try and understand the nature of job and the type of individual by using various psychological tests, and we try to fit into these two, individual and job, which we call it job fit. And through true reasoning, what you call it, that we try to understand the capacities, abilities, personality factor, and other human assets, and we try to link with word of work, and then we guide the individual that you should go for this kind of occupational field. This is very traditional way of providing career guidance and counseling. Now, if you have any mini definition of career guidance and counseling, one most important definition, which I think which is very relevant in today's era, and that definition is that you should be helping our client as a career counseling psychologist. We should be helping our client to create their own position in the world of work. This is the most important and most relevant definition of career guidance and counseling. But what happened? Like, see, there are people, I mean, they are motivated by traditional model of career guidance and counseling, where they administered psychological tests like, say, for example, differential aptitude test battery, personality test, any suitable personality test looking at the age of the client, interest inventories, and their focus is more on the psychological assessment, and they try to link with the occupational field or educational field. And what sometimes this psychologist or counseling psychologist, there's a possibility that they may make some error, and that error is can be like developing individual's profile. So they are profiling them at one particular occupational field, educational field, and that is introduced in their at very young age, that you are fit for or you are suitable for this particular occupational field. In her and Kramer's language, we call it, sometimes these people, the students, when they entered in primary school or even in secondary school, and if this idea is generated in their mind of profiling them in particular educational field and occupational field, they refuse to process other information, they refuse to listen to other occupational field, they refuse to even process any information provided to them about other field. And there are, for no reason, there are some occupational field which are considered as prestigious occupational field in our country, for no reason for this. With due respect to this, people, they talk about medical profession, engineering to some extent, and there are few occupational field which everybody wanted to enter in. And traditional practice oriented career guidance and counseling worker, they help parents. Parents also wanted to find out that in which particular educational field or which particular occupational field my son or my daughter is suitable for. And if you provide, psychologists, they provide information that your daughter is suitable in this particular, and there are some other aspects also which are equally important that as a career psychologist you should be sensitive. Like, for example, female students, they have been given in a particular occupational field. Maybe more of, if you talk in terms of the whole word of work, is if you divide into two, one is goods producing occupations and other one is service producing occupations. There's a possibility that female child is suggested to enter in service producing occupational field and not goods producing occupational field, where there is a activities where one is involved in manufacturing process, where they produce goods. Here it is, but I'm not saying that service producing occupations are bad or good, but here psychologists sometimes are like, I'm not generalizing it, some psychologists, they may be biased, that they say that, okay, female child should enter in traditional occupational field like service producing occupation, like teaching, nursing. Okay, so this kind of occupational field, computer operating, telephone operating, right? Whereas male, even if their aptitude, even their profile, even their personality profile is suitable for service producing occupations, they have been that foster that idea in their mind that you are suitable for, or you can be suitable for goods producing occupational field. Now this kind of profile, this kind of profiling is done consciously, unconsciously, in a very wrong manner by the psychologist. And these people, when they actually entered in occupational field, then they realize, because it's a developmental stages, primary, secondary, and there's a possibility that once they clear their matriculation and they entered in colleges, there's a possibility that their interest areas may change, their interest pattern change, personality develops, personality characteristics developed. They interact with their teacher, they interact with their peer group, they read a lot of things on internet, okay, and then there's a possibility that there can be change in their thinking style regarding their occupational field, but the idea generated in their mind that you are suitable for this occupational field, and that idea doesn't get wiped out in many cases, right? So we call it premature foreclosure. That this is what in Indian situation people like, see, otherwise also these psychological services are not available in all the schools. Private schools have started appointing or providing psychological services. Now we need, in Indian situation, it has been observed that there are hardly 1 lakh service centers where career guidance and counseling services are being provided. But the actual requirement is 10, 15, 20 times more than this. But we don't have that kind of services available. And there are many schools where they don't have guidance corner, or what you call psychological services available, because career guidance and counseling is, after all, a behavioral science, and only counseling psychologists trained in behavioral science are more comfortable in conducting this kind of activities. So this premature foreclosure in such situation, when there are like, say, the future is unpredictable, there is a lot of uncertainty. Like, see, even those who are studying in 10th and 12th standard today, so they will be entering in occupational field which are not even existing today. This is what the occupational trend is. This is what you call word of work, which is changing fast. It is not only because of pandemic, but it is also because of technology, because of the kind of new technology which is introduced, and new technology can create new job. Sometimes existing jobs are eliminated from word of work. Okay, so new jobs are created. So in such situation, I think psychologists, those who are practicing as a career psychologist, I think they should keep themselves away from creating this kind of profiling of the people for particular occupational field. I'll be coming to this point again later. Then looking at this, like, see, when I said this country is a country of youth, and we have many problems which our youths are facing. And in somewhere in 2013, the government of India has taken that decision of developing youth development policy, national youth development policy. And in a national youth development policy, because keeping in mind the requirement of youth, they started started many scheme under this national youth development policy. But even today, you will find that, I mean, in spite of having national policy to deal with our youth, we need to have counseling services available at college level, at university level. There are very few institutes where counseling center is functional, right? And here, like, see, unemployment rate is very high. I don't have to tell you how much the unemployment rate is in India. You all are aware about this. And there are people, I mean, those who are going abroad for their further studies. And you know that during this crisis, this kind of turbulence which you are passing through, the kind of problem which our international students, those who have been studying abroad, the kind of difficulties which they are facing. So here, some of this Indian Ministry of External Affairs figure I am giving here, how many people are studying abroad. And ultimately, what is going to happen? Like, see, there are like people, I mean, those who are studying in various universities abroad, there's a possibility that they may have to, some of them may be getting employment there, but many of them may come back. And then there's a possibility that we'll have to create that kind of infrastructure here, keeping in mind what kind of training they received and what kind of word of work. We being a member of ILO, International Labour Organization, the kind of occupational field which we have, I think that also needs to be that link we have to establish with what kind of training they received and what kind of opportunities expressing this kind of abilities or skill which they have acquired, how it can be expressed in building our economy. That kind of things also has to be. And this is an important aspect where psychologists also can play a very important role in establishing the link between individual and word of work or employment opportunities in India. So this is another very important thing, because as I started this session with a very important statement made by Galen, that's nature's best physician, I think, which maintained mental health. So employment is related to mental health issue. In case if you, there are many people, I mean, they will be unemployed. Some of them will be underemployed. And then we do have some certain schemes like skill building and Skill India, and of course, I mean, we can also have Knowledge India. That is also equally important aspect. Okay, even though we have Skill India, but our people are going abroad to get more knowledge and more skill. So I think there also we need to work as a psychologist, where we can make their life more comfortable in word of work. Now, see, these are sometimes what happen. We have our own way of looking at career related needs of our youth, and here we have this mental health construct directly correlated with dysfunctional career thoughts. And you know that, I mean, if we don't provide them proper career guidance and counseling, keeping in mind their training, their competence, their skill, life skill, all these things also has to be taken into consideration in addition to their traditional way of providing them career guidance and counseling. And if it is not done, then you can see this kind of difficulties, indecisiveness. Because, like, see, even if you take one particular aspect, decision or indecisiveness, so indecisiveness also can be, making them floundering from one place to other place, floundering from one job to another job, and then there's no job security also for many of them, right? So in such situation, I think this kind of floundering can be stopped. Okay, floundering can be minimized, because it is not always exploration. Exploration means changing from one place, one job to other job, just for exploration. But once somebody has already got proper training, proper education, proper qualification, I think that in such situation, floundering can be minimized. So this is complete economic loss if our youth start floundering from one place to other place, or from one job to other job. So I think this kind of activities where counseling psychologists can play very important role in helping them having more, if you can see this misconception, irrational decision making, and other things can be tackled by a psychologist by using their own various intervention strategies available at their disposal. Now, there's another very important concept which I would like to bring to your kind notice, that adversity questions, because we have been talking about emotional questions, we have been talking about social questions, but now since last say a decade or two, we have been talking about adversity questions also, because here people in general, we talk in terms of resilience, but I will prefer to talk in terms of adversity, because there are many people in the country, they live in a very adverse condition in this country, and if they overcome that kind of adverse condition, they become a little more stronger, they become more, because the kind of frustration which they experience, sometimes because of this more frustration, they develop frustration tolerance also. But please note that I am nowhere saying that frustration is continuous frustration or a large amount of frustration. Everyday frustration will even collapse the individual. So somewhere, the researchers, those who have been working in the field of frustration, they said that little amount of frustration is required to develop frustration tolerance, but they have very specifically mentioned little amount of Rosenvik. If you remember, Rosenvik said that little amount of frustration required to develop frustration tolerance, but not to that extent that individual totally collapse. Now here, adversity questions, because there are many people in our country, in our society, they live in an adverse condition. They don't have proper education, proper facilities, medical facilities, mental health services. Okay, and even then, now if they overcome this kind of difficulties, the obstacles, the barriers in their way of development, I think psychologists can really help them develop this kind of resilience. Okay, so resilience, as we know, that this whole term came from technology, particularly from mechanical kind of literature, where this they call it metal effect. When this metal is lot of heat, that metal come out as a very strong metal. So here also, that individual, those who experience a lot of adversities in their life, they come out with more resilience, and they deal with their stressful situation. Okay, so such kind of pandemic, such kind of unpredictability, uncertainty, I think people, those who have developed this kind of those who have experienced this kind of adversities, so they may take it as another challenge for this. So with minimum career guidance and counseling, I think we will be able to take care of their mental health issues and well-being, and they can be, like, if you take care of their well-being and mental health, I think they've become more efficient and more productive in whichever organization they work. So this kind of activities also, this kind of concept needs to be understood by psychologists in a proper way, so that they can incorporate this concept of AQ, adversity questions, along with, I'm not reducing the importance of emotional questions or social questions, which is also equally important nowadays. Social questions, we talk in terms of like a social intelligence means we talk in terms of science of human relationship in social intelligence, and that's also equally important aspect to incorporate in career guidance and counseling. Now, this is the point which are adaptive capabilities and all. These are all which we already discussed in continuation with adversity. Now, this is another very important concept which I think career psychologists or career counseling psychologists also should incorporate, because I'm not talking only in terms of this pandemic alone, but there are many such aspects are there in our society where people in general they experience a lot of discrimination. I may be talking in terms of workplace discrimination here. Like, see, as I was explaining you how one can be biased while providing them guidance and counseling in a one particular area. Like, see, we have many, like, see, all tests, psychological tests, for example, we have DAT. So DAT measures aptitude in even like carpentry, but DAT also measures aptitude in interior designing. So whether you would like to guide that person to become carpenter or guide that person to become interior designer, or say barber also have similar kind of DAT can measure that aptitude in that particular profession. So I think similar kind of, or to little more additional this thing, but surgeon also require similar kind of abilities and aptitude. But the psychologist should take position that you can discriminate people, but not on the basis of their socio-cultural background, but you can discriminate people on the basis of human assets like aptitude, personality, interest, okay, and not on the basis of their gender. So we'll find that kind of glass ceiling effect experienced by women, because there are many countries also, there's no, in their constitution it is not written that women should not become president of that country, but there are situation where they don't allow women to become president. I'm giving very large, but thanks to our constitution, because at least we had women as a prime minister, women as a president, and there are on many labor force, they are leading the life. But even then, there is little, tremendous amount of discrimination experienced by women at workplace also. And I think many of you are doing research in this particular field. So as a career psychologist, to deal with that, because if they have all like personality factors, aptitude, intelligence, everything is there, is normally distributed. And education, if supported by education and training, I think they also should be allowed to enter in non-traditional occupational field like pilot officers, mechanical engineers, and all this kind. So there should not be any ceiling effect with that concept normally used in industrial setup, but I would like this particular concept also should be incorporated in career guidance and counseling. Now, there are PWD, people with a disability. That's another because as a psychologist, you should be concerned to those who are socially disadvantaged, or those who have been not in the mainstream. So I think we must have that sensitivity that they can be discriminated on the basis of just like say, it should not be on the basis of disability. But then, 75% occupations which we have in world of work, we required mental faculty to perform this occupational field. But people with disability, for unnecessary, we discriminate them because they are disabled and they are not in a position to enter in a particular occupational field, or their entry in occupational field will increase their insurance cost. So these are some of the reasons quoted by the employer. So I think career psychologists should also interact with the employer and make it clear that, see, this particular person, like say as Henry Ford, the person who introduced a psychological concept in industry, Henry Ford, the owner of this Ford car. The kind of things which he said that we have unnecessary requirement of certain jobs, that mental and physical fitness is required. It is not true that in everywhere mental and physical fitness is required to perform the job or to create or to become more effective or efficient in their production. So I think this is the area which required, no, because the kind of turbulence which these people are passing through, I think career psychologists should also help them be a productive member of society. And PWD, people with disability, it is not that, I mean, they earn for living alone, but they earn to communicate to the society that they are not dependent on them, and they also can be income taxpayer, and they also can be contributing to the economy of our nation. So that kind of idea needs to be generated, and career psychologists can play a very important role in to deal with their the kind of crisis situations which they experience. Similarly, there are many socially disadvantaged groups in our country where, like tribals and scheduled caste and other people, I mean, they do experience a lot of discrimination at workplace, and I think that we cannot deny, right? And that's why, being a sensitive psychologist, I think we should have, and which is what is the criteria of civilized society. Civilized society means the society which has concern for those who have been discriminated or those who have been weaker section. So that is the indication of that society is civilized. So this is a glass ceiling effect which I wanted to sensitize those who are working in the field of career guidance and counseling. So since beginning, I think we can generate these ideas in their mind that world of work is free from all kind of biases, gender biases, disability, ability, and socially disadvantaged advantage. So this kind of things needs to be understood in this kind of crisis situation. This is something which I came across with regarding profiling. In addition to what we discussed earlier, there are people, I mean, they schools or some organizations, some NGOs, those who have got that status of conducting career guidance and counseling, and they conduct this counseling program in various schools, and some of them have that kind of they identify exceptional children. Now, exceptional children, and that is again very interesting concept. Exceptional means those who are deviated from the norms are called exceptional. Those who are not doing well, or those who are academically lagging behind, they are also called exceptional. And those who are academically performing well, they are also called exceptional. But here they make profile of these people, that those who are academically lagging behind, not because of any biological factor or genetic factor, just because of maybe non-biological factor or non-stimulating atmosphere at home, right? So they are not performing up to the mark. But those who are performing, exceptionally performing good, I think they prepared the profile of them, and they say that you go for this kind of occupational field and you go for this kind of occupational field, which is again foreclosure for people. I mean, this is what the statement made by Mark Twain that stand very correctly in this situation. Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that, but the really great make you feel that you too can become great. I think this kind of profiling, I think one should stop and let women or a female child grow the way they wanted to, by considering their ability, capacities, okay, personality factors, same way, and not on the basis of gender. There should not be any kind of profiling of that. So if I go and ask somebody, so people, I mean, those who are studying it 12th standard, and if you ask boys that how many of you would like to become nurse, and then boys look at girl, they say that okay, girls should become nurse and not boys. I think this kind of biases somewhere directly, indirectly, we only have generated in their mind. Okay, and sometimes our textbooks also are responsible for this. Like textbooks also carry such type of picturized presentation where there's a hospital situation where nurse is female standing with tray, and doctor is male as a doctor standing with etho. I think this kind of textbooks also carry such type of pictures which generated gender bias ideas in the mind of young students. So this kind of profiling done by teacher, profiling by parents, or profiling by psychologists, I think should be stopped. And the last point which I would like to talk about this, this is Haren Kramer's book carried this idea. Of course, it's quite old idea, but it has its relevance even today. Life planning workshop. I think here, while conducting this, because looking at the title itself, we can understand that why people behave as they do. So that means we try and observe them, their manifested interest, their express interest. Okay, who is winner, who is loser, that kind of characteristics also can be understood. So today's fantasy may be tomorrow's achievement. So your fantasy life also should be understood by psychologists in a proper, by properly developed tools in understanding that your real life, actual life, pursued life. Okay, so these are all should be the content of this life planning workshop. But one thing which we have to keep in mind when you talk in terms of their mid-term goal, short-term goal, long-term goal, management by objective, what you call setting life goal. I think career psychologists should also involve in planning their life, but planning in such a way that because planning always help us reduce uncertainty of future. Okay, but at the same time, planning should be in such a way that, as I told you at the beginning itself, that career or career guidance or career development is nothing but it's a lifestyle development. Career is not related to only occupational field or entering in occupational field. Career is a lifestyle, and that lifestyle development needs to be understood properly by career psychologists. And what we have to do is to prepare individual in such a way that he or she create her own position in the world of work. That's the best strategy which counseling psychologists working in the field of career guidance and counseling should adopt. Okay, so with this, I think I will prefer to stop here and then over to Dr. Vishmita for any question answer. I will be very happy to interact with all of you. Thank you so much for such a patient listening. Thank you, sir.
मैं करती हूँ 1 मिनट बाद. Hello everyone. So thank you so much, sir, for such valuable session. And we are now coming to the question answer round. So let's have a question. We have a question from, okay, we have a question from Russell, sir, from Maharashtra. And he's asking that, sir, what is your suggestion to youth population for managing their good mental health in the pandemic situation?
Right. Should we take this question, or are you taking question together, or one by one?
One by one, sir. Yes.
Yes, Principal Russell, sir. That's a very wonderful question, because now all of us, we are facing this very the kind of threatening situation to all of us. I think this is not something which is completely new. In the past also, our generation, our people had this kind of difficulties. What is important here is what kind of responses our youth are giving to this pandemic situation is more important. This, sometimes as a psychologist, we have to create fear in their mind, because fear protect us from any kind of danger. And that's why we have to create fear in their mind, that wearing mask, maintaining physical distance and not social distance. Okay, so that are some of the very important aspect. And then they should be able to, most of them are worried about their career. In career, they should be able to keeping in mind the kind of changes which are taking place in world of work. See, for which particular occupation they have been trained for, that particular occupational field may not be there in the world of work. So they should be able to process alternative plan. Many times as a psychologist, we help them. As a career psychologist also, we help them that you must have alternative plan. You must be able to create alternatives and possibilities in your life. Those who fail to create possibilities and alternatives in their life, they are likely to develop suicidal ideation, and that's why psychologists, including career psychologists, can play a very important role in generating possibilities and alternatives in their life. And that's the most important part which psychologists can really take care of.
Definitely, sir. And we also believe at Indian Academy of Health Psychology that youth has the maximum responsibility right now to take care of the elder people in their family as well as the children, because they are technologically more friendly as compared to the children and adults, elderly population in their family, and they can assist them, which can actually help in their mental health. So, sir, next question we have is from Professor N.K. Saxena, sir, and he's asking that in our country, sometimes parents set a career goal without considering intrinsic motivation of their children and parents, and are guided by their extrinsic motivations. So, he would like your comments for the same, sir.
Yes, sir. That's very important question coming from we all respect him a lot, our N.K. Saxena, sir, very senior colleague of ours. Sir, we have learned many things from you in the past, and this kind of question which you are asking, of course, and you know the answer was better. Okay, so the kind of generation which you are facing now, sir, everybody wanted their children's future to be defined. People, they come and they approach psychologists, and they again involve themselves in making their future plan, career plan. I come across with some of the parents when they were given this response sheet saying that your class, when after doing psychological assessment, completing psychological assessment, we provided them, see, look, your child has aptitude in this particular field, personality characteristics suitable for this particular field. Okay, but at the same time, when this parents they take it as like a X-ray. It's like a radiologist report, and they sometimes show it to the government agency where they go for admission, and they say that, look, my child is suitable for civil engineering. It has been stated by psychologists. You please admit my child in civil engineering. Admit my child in marine engineering. So this kind of things happens, because parents also experience a lot of insecurity. I think parents need to involve in career development, no doubt about it, but more in a more rational way, so that intrinsic motivation of child is also should be taken care of. And it's a responsibility of psychologists to communicate to the parents the real self, or whatever possible real self of child, so that they can be very collaborator in their career development, because parents need to be collaborated in career development, but they should not directly, indirectly enforce their own interest or their own motivation on the child, because there are many children sometimes when they come for counseling, they also express that you please tell me whatever you want, I will enter in, except the field which my parents wanted me to enter in. So this is sometimes the kind of conflict which they experience with parents. Okay, I think that also is expressed in front of psychologists, and psychologists, being a behavioral scientist, we must try our level best to build that effective communication between child and parents, and then because ultimately we want this human resources available with child to be utilized for the development of our economy. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. We have one more question from Aarti Bakshi ma'am from Jammu. And she's asking that, first of all, she's appreciating our session today. And then she's asking that, what do you think, sir, is the age where profiling can be started? Because it keeps on changing for people.
Right. Madam, see that this kind of profiling, I am against profiling. So any kind of profiling, it should not be like a complete statement about that particular individual. It should not act as a radiologist report, with due respect, because that is based on fact. But in psychology, there are many things which are abstract, and anything which is abstract make you think, right? That particular, like say for example, if you start profiling child at primary level, okay, so that is what we call premature foreclosure. The child is not ready to process any other information. They say that, okay, science is my future, and I am going to study only science. So they don't pay attention to mathematics or any other subject, language, which are always equally important, because basic need is basic requirement. To understand mathematics also is equally important, and that's why profiling as far as possible should be avoided. Okay, so no one should be kept in anybody, like say, like a farmer keeping this pumpkin in a jar, so that pumpkin can develop only this shape and size of that jar. So let us pumpkin be kept on open ground so that they can grow to their full size and shape. Okay, I'm referring to that word of work is changing fast. Word of work is beyond common man's comprehension. Even parents or even psychologists may find it very difficult to understand word of work. So let us teach children, or let us counsel our children that they should be able to create their own position in the world of work. And at the same time, in case if they cannot enter in any particular occupational field, instead of developing helplessness, hopelessness, they should process other career related activities, so that they will be able to survive, and they will be able to survive in this world of work. Okay, and they can create some other alternative where they can express their abilities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We do have a task force as well. Let me just inform this to our viewers that IHP has a task force where around 300 psychologists are involved, and their numbers are shared so that anyone who needs counseling at any time in this pandemic can contact them, take appointment, and have their telecounseling done. So this is an initiative by Indian Academy of Health Psychology. So please do make aware the people, the youth or the elderly or the children who actually either want to discuss about their career, or they are feeling isolated, or whatever, if any problems they are facing regarding their mental health. So thank you so much, sir. And we will just end the question answer section right here, because there are a lot of questions and there are a lot of comments. But because of the limitations of time, we are only taking the selected ones. And over to President, sir, Professor Anand Kumar, sir, for his blessings to us.
Thank you, Vismita. And hello.
Yeah, yes. We can listen. Yes, you are audible. Yeah.
Okay. So I am really grateful to you, Professor Gawali, my dear friend, that it was really a very wonderful, informative session. And you well explained about career counseling to foster mental health and therapeutic effect of career counseling. And you very well quoted that employment is the nature's best physician, explained traditional practice in career guidance and counseling, and you also explained that new technology is creating new area of job opportunities. But during the COVID-19 crisis, unemployment rates have skyrocketed, and you also explained about various dysfunctional career thoughts as mental health construct, such as indecision, anxiety, agitation, depression, hopelessness, etc. And wonderful explanation about a concept of adversity quotient AQ that coined by Paul at 1997, and this is turning obstacles into opportunities. It was really wonderfully explained. And AQ is a key determinant of success in life. And SQ and EQ are also important in career counseling. You well explained the concept of glass ceiling effect and life planning workshop. And It was really very wonderful for all the viewers who are just engaged in career counseling and career guidance, and they will be definitely benefited by your speech. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Gautam.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's a pleasure for me too.
So now we come for the end of this evening. And I would like to thank all our viewers. So we have viewers from all over India, from Bihar to Rajasthan and all the east, and we have our viewers from Jammu to southern parts of India, and as well as abroad. So thank you very much, viewers. This is your love, this is your comments and your appreciations. That is what we achieve always when we do such sessions. And definitely we will be having more sessions with Gawali sir. Sir, you explained the concept so nicely. And I'm sure there will be a lot of people who would like to contact you regarding any of their career-related issues and other issues. So thank you so much for being with us today, this evening, and to be our speaker. And everyone is appreciating the session so much, and we are looking forward to have more sessions from you, sir. And thank you to our president, Indian Academy of Health Psychology, Professor Anand Kumar sir, to be with us this evening and addressing all of us. And he's the one who has started this initiative of health psychology, and in this pandemic, making you aware about the different help which is available and different type of steps you can take in order to enhance your mental health. And the chairperson of our E-Academy, Dr. Rakesh Jain sir, who is the man behind all this sessions that are being brought to us. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Keep on commenting, keep on subscribing. Do give us more ideas to give you more awareness in the field of health psychology. Guys, we want more innovative ideas so that we can help promote different streams of psychology in India. And you all, your support is there with us, and you all have our support. So thank you so much. Thank you to our coordinators, our regional and state coordinators, our EC members, our committee members who are been working day and night to give you all these sessions. Please do visit our website so that you will come to know more about what's going on in Indian Academy of Health Psychology. So thank you everyone. Good night and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Gawali sir. Thank you, Anand sir. Thank you, all the viewers. We are closing. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good night.